कधी फोन आला होता त्या बाईचा.
हं.
फोन करून विचारून टाकून
Welcome, sir. We will wait for more 2 minutes. Then we will start the session, sir.
Okay. All right.
Sir, you can share your screen.
Okay. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Very good afternoon, everyone. I, Professor Asif Beg, welcome Professor Rafat Ali, sir, Assistant Professor, Government Polytechnic, RV, on the topic Traversing and Triangulation Survey, Total Station, Horizontal and Vertical Curve, under Prerna Scheme, sponsored by AICTE Delhi. Now I request Rafat, sir, to please take over the session.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Sir, my voice is clear?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, okay. So thank you very much, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. In today's session, we'll try to complete 4 topics, that is triangulation, traversing, total station, and the horizontal and vertical curve. To start with, as everybody know that surveying is nothing but an art of determining the relative position of various points or object on the surface of the earth by taking various measurements and preparing the map with some suitable scale. That is the basic definition of the surveying. As all of us are aware that surveying is a very large discipline of the civil engineering. So to do the survey, it is classified into different categories. So the survey can be classified based on the instrument use. Suppose if we are using the chain or we are using the tape, then it is called as the chain surveying. If we are using the instrument like compass, then it is called as the chain and compass surveying. If we are using the theodolite, then it is called as the theodolite surveying. If we are using the tachometer, then it is called as the tachometry. So this is the classification based on the instrument. On the basis of method, surveying can be classified as the triangulation surveying, traversing surveying, like that. Based on the object, it can be further classified as geological surveying. For example, if we are doing the survey for the geological purpose, then it is called as the geological surveying. If we are doing the survey for the mining purpose, then it is called as the mine surveying. If we are doing the survey for archaeological purpose, then it is called as the archaeological surveying. For military purpose, it is called as the military surveying. Further, it can also be classified based on the nature of the field. For example, if we are doing the survey on the land, then it is called as the land surveying. If we are doing the survey in the marine region, then it is called as the marine surveying. And if we are doing the survey aerially, then it is called as the aerial survey, like that. So these are the various classification of the survey, and the methods or the survey to be adapted based on this condition, right? But basically, the survey is broadly classified into basically 2 categories. That is plane surveying and geodetic surveying. That is the basic classification. So, so basic classification is only the plane surveying and geodetic surveying, and the further classification that we have seen is are known as the secondary classifications. That is based on the instrument, based on the method adopted, based on the object, based on the nature of field. These are the secondary classification, and primarily it is classified into 2 categories: plane surveying and geodetic surveying. Now, what is plane surveying? Correct. If we are doing the survey without taking into consideration the curvature of the earth, then it is called as the plane surveying. We all know that our earth is having a shape of spherical. Correct. So if we are considering the survey, taking into consideration the curvature of the earth, then it is called as the geodetic surveying. And if we ignore the curvature of the earth, then it is called as the plane surveying. So usually when a large survey is done across the country, then we need to consider the curvature of the earth, and that is called as a geodetic survey. So usually, if the survey extends beyond 250 kilometers, then we have to consider the curvature of the earth, and that comes under the category of the geodetic survey. And for small project and for local surveying, where the area covered is less than 250 kilometers square, then we generally ignore the curvature of the earth, and it comes into the category of the plane survey. Right? Geodetic surveying is further classified into three basic categories, that is triangulation, trilateration, and traversing. So today we'll discuss the triangulation and traversing, which is the basic classification of the geodetic survey. So to start, we'll first see what is triangulation. Triangulation is nothing but a system of triangles. Means whatever the survey we need to do, first the entire area is to be divided into number of triangles, and those triangles should be well conditioned. Correct? So suppose if you have to do the survey of some region or some country or some colony, then first we have to locate or mark the territory of this survey project, and then divide the entire area into different triangles. Whatever the area it may be. It may be a colony, it may be a country, it may be a city. So first locate that city and then divide the entire city into different triangles, and these triangles should be well conditioned. Now what is well conditioned triangle? Well conditioned triangle is the triangle in which the included angles, no angle of the triangle should be less than 30 degree and no angle should be more than 120 degree. Means every angle of the triangle should be greater than 30 degree and it should be lesser than 120 degree. That is called as the well conditioned triangle. Correct. Now the figure or not the area so divided into triangles, the apex of this triangle is known as the triangulation station, and the whole figure is known as the triangulation system or triangulation figure. Now what is the triangulation system? What are the different triangulation systems? We will see later. So like this, suppose if this is a plan or map of some region, then what we did, we divided the entire area into the triangles. Correct? Like this. Like this. So whatever the area we need to be surveyed, it should be divided into triangles. Now, what is the principle of the triangulation? The basic principle of the triangulation is convert the area which is to be surveyed into the framework of the triangle. Okay? And if the length of one side and the three angles are known, then the remaining sides can be computed using the sine rule. That is the basic principle of the triangle. Suppose one area is there, and if we have to do the survey, then first we'll mark some control stations. Then join this control station by 3 lines, you will get a triangle. Now measure the length of any one side very precisely, and that side will be known as the if we measure only one side, and if we know the remaining angles, then the length of remaining sides can be calculated using the sine law. You can see that in this figure, A, B, theta, three angles. Now, what is the sine law? The sine law states that A upon sine of alpha, that should be equals to B upon sine of beta, and that should be equals to C upon sine of beta. That is the main principle of the triangulation. What is the objectives of the triangulation? The basic objective or the basic purpose of this triangulation survey is to establish the accurate control for plane and geodetic survey for large areas. Correct? Second objective is to establish the accurate control for photogrammetric survey of large areas, and to determine the accurate location of the points in engineering work, such as fixing center lines and abutments of the long bridges, fixing center line, terminal points and shafts for the long tunnels, transferring the control points across the wide area channels and large water body, etc. And further the detection of the crustal movements. That is the main purpose or main objective of the triangulation. The basic objective remains to establish the accurate control for plane and geodetic survey, means to mark the control station, to set the control station, horizontal control and vertical control. That is the main objective of this triangulation. All right. Now these are the various triangulation systems. So basic concept of the triangulation is this one. The basic concept is first to mark the baseline and then process in the forward direction. So to do the triangulation process, we have to adopt the different triangulation systems. The first system is a single line of the triangles, in which first we mark or we measure the baselines, then we measure the remaining angles, then using the sine rules, the remaining sides can be calculated. These two sides or these remaining sides will act as a base for the next triangle, and then by knowing the angles and the baseline, the remaining side can be calculated. Then further, this calculated side will act as a base for the next triangle, and likewise the chain continues. That is known as a single line of the triangles, means our survey is propagating only in one direction. Second triangulation, and this type of single line of triangles is generally adopted in the region where a narrow strip like area we have to cover, like the coastal lines or like that. In that case, this single line of triangulation system is useful. And second is the double line of triangles, in which we go on propagating on either side of the baseline. Suppose this is a baseline. First we measure this baseline precisely, and then we measure the angles. Then from the sine law, we calculated the remaining sides. Okay. So across the baseline, we go on propagating. That is known as the double line of the triangles. Next one is the chain of the quadrilaterals. Correct? In this similar way, first we calculate the baseline, interior angles, then we know the remaining sides. These remaining sides will act as a baseline for the next chain, and our propagation will be like a quadrilateral. So that is known as the chain of quadrilaterals. Then similar way mein, it is a pentagons and hexagon. So these are the various triangulation system. So the type of triangulation system to be adapted depends upon the field condition. If it is a narrow field or if it is a narrow strip that we need to survey, then we can go for the single line of triangles. And if our area is some quadrilateral type or some square or rectangular shape, then we'll go for the quadrilateral or hexagonal triangulation system. Then we'll see what is the classification of the triangulation system. The triangulation system is basically classified into three categories: first order or primary triangulation, second order or secondary triangulation, and third order or tertiary triangulation. So first order triangulation system is adapted to determine the shape and size of the earth or to furnish the most precise control point over a vast area. Second order or secondary triangulation system is the network which is within the first order triangulation for a region or province. And third order or tertiary triangulation system is the network within the second order triangulation for detail engineering and location survey. For example, consider the survey of our country. So first what we do, we divide the entire country into different triangles, and the length of the baseline will be more. So we'll get a bigger triangle. That is the primary triangulation. In that primary triangulation, if we form one triangle, then inside the primary triangulation, further that triangle can be divided into number of sub triangles. Means one bigger primary triangle. Then inside this triangle is further divided into various sub triangles. These sub triangles are known as the secondary triangles. Correct? Then inside the secondary triangle, it is further divided into number of triangles. Then it is known as the tertiary or third order triangles. So in which we are following the principle of surveying, working from whole to part. Correct? So whatever the area to be surveyed, first we divide into large triangles, then those large triangles is further divided into some smaller triangles, and then smaller triangles are further divided into smaller triangles. So that is the classification of the triangulation system. Now these are some specification given. What are the length and sides of the various triangulation systems? For example, in our primary triangulation system, the length of baseline ranges from 5 to 20 kilometers, and length of sides of triangles range from 30 to 160 kilometers. Whereas for secondary triangulation system, the length of baseline is 2 to 5 kilometers, and length of sides of triangle is 8 to 70 kilometers. For tertiary triangulation system, the length of base is 0.5 to 3 kilometers, and length of sides of triangle ranges from 1.5 to 10 kilometers. Correct? And the further specification also given as, for example, error in the base. For primary, it is 1 in 3 lakhs. For secondary, it is 1 in 1,50,000. For tertiary, it is 1 in 75,000. Probable error of the base, probable error in the computed side, discrepancy in two computations, average triangle of the closure, maximum triangulation of the closure, everything is defined like this. So the primary triangulation for countries, it is adapted in two ways. It is a gridiron system and the central system. It can be, the triangulation can be done in two ways: gridiron system and central system. In gridiron system, what we do, we start the survey in two direction. One is this direction and another perpendicular to the one direction. So like that, we go on dividing the area and we go on doing the survey. Like this. For example, if we have to do the survey in India for various purposes, then this is the gridiron system. Means we are started from this and we are going in this upward direction from bottom to top, and in this similar way we are going from left to right, means south to north and from east to west. So that is the gridiron system, right? So that is all about the triangulation system. Means the basic concept means dividing the area into number of triangles and doing the survey. And doing the survey, we can use various instruments like Distromat or total station or maybe some other instrument. But the basic principle is to divide the area into the triangles and do the survey. Surveying can be done with the help of various instruments. That can be our conventional instrument or it can be our modern instrument like total station. So that is about the triangulation. Now second is the traversing. Sir, I am audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Just I am checking whether. Okay. Yes. So the second classification of the geodetic survey is the traversing. The basic difference in the triangulation and traversing is that in triangulation we divide the area into number of well-conditioned triangles, whereas in case of traversing, whatever the area to be surveyed, it should be enclosed by some control station. Correct? If you are seeing in this figure that if this is the locality that has to be surveyed, so first what we have to do, we have to enclose the entire area by some control station following our principle of surveying, that is working from whole to part. Means whatever the area to be surveyed, first it should be enclosed by some station points. So in traversing, what we do, we enclose the entire area by control stations. Suppose this area is that we have to be surveyed, we are going to survey, then first we enclose this area by control station, suppose A, B, C, D, E, F, like that. And then we run the chain line from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, E to A, and like that. So this connected sides so form is known as the traverse. That is known as the traverse. And the side of traverse is known as traverse leg. That is known as the traverse leg. So this is a traverse, and second, if you are seeing that this is also the traverse, both are the same thing. This is a traverse, this is the one traverse, and this is the another traverse. So in traversing, what we do, we enclose the entire area by some control station, and then we run the chain line. The side of traverse is known as the traverse leg. Now, basically traverse are of two types. It is seen from the figure that the top figure is a closed figure, means starting point is coinciding with the end point. So it is called as the closed traverse. And the bottom figure, it is visible, it is the starting point is separate and the end point is separate. So that is known as the open traverse. So traversing is basically classified into two categories, the open traverse and the closed traverse. So if we need to do the survey and if we are marking the control station and we are running the chain line, and if the chain line or if the traversing is not closing, means when the starting point of the traverse is not coinciding with the end point of the traverse, means starting point is different and the end point is different, such type of traverse is known as the open traverse. Right? So these are the control points. For example, A, B, C, D, E, like that. We are propagating in this direction, A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and so on. Suppose A is the starting point and E is the end point. So our starting point is not meeting with the end point, and we are propagating in one general direction. Such type of traverse is known as the open traverse. This open traverse is particularly suitable for our roadways, railways, and coastal lines, like that. So if we have to do the survey for area or for a project which cannot be enclosed, for that open traverse is preferred. For example, roadways or for example railway lines that cannot be enclosed by some control point because they are running in some general direction and in kilometers, right? So, and we have to do the survey along that roads and along that railway line. In that case, we will go for the open traverse. So these are the projects that cannot be controlled, that cannot be enclosed by the control station. So the survey projects which are not enclosed by the control stations, or for example the projects where their boundaries are not fixed, those are not having any definite boundaries, for that we go for the open traverse. And second one is the closed traverse. In closed traverse, the series of connected lines form a closed circuit. That is, the finishing points coincide with the starting point. For example, if we had started with the station A, we go to station B, then C, then D, then E, and again came back to the A. Means our starting point and the end points coinciding, then this such type of traverse is known as the closed traverse. And closed traverse is particularly adapted for the projects which are having the some definite boundaries. Correct? Those projects that are having some definite boundaries and which can be enclosed within the control stations, such type of traverse is known as the closed traverse. So for example, if we have to do the survey of pond, if we have to do the survey of the forest, if we have to do the survey of some colony or cities, all these projects have some definite boundaries and we can enclose these boundaries with some control stations. So such type of traverse is known as the closed traverse. Now how to do the traversing? So traversing can be done by different ways. Like if we are using chain, then it can be the chain traversing. If we are using chain and crosstalk, then it is known as the chain and crosstalk traversing. It can be done by chain and compass, then it is known as the chain and compass traversing. It can be done with the help of theodolite, then it is called as the theodolite traversing. It can be done with the help of plane table, then it is known as the plane table traversing. So traversing, triangulations, these are the method of the traversing. Basic concept is to enclose the area in traversing and go on locating the details within that area. For example, if we have to do the survey of one colony, so what we do, we mark some control station A, B, C, D, E. correct? And then we run the chain line AB, BC, CD, DE, EA, correct? We will measure the distance AB, BC, CD, DE, EA, correct? These distance can be measured with the help of either chain or tape or with the help of some modern instrument like electronic distance meter or distomet. And once the distance is measured, the interior details, the interior locality can be located or can be surveyed with the help of some instrument. For example, in chain and crosswalk survey, what we do, we measure the baseline we measure the traverse lines with the help of chain or tape, and then we mark the offset from this chain line to the objects. That is the chain and compass traversing. Sorry, chain and crosstalk traversing. In chain and compass traversing, what we do, again we measure the baseline with the help of linear measuring instrument, and we take the bearings of those objects. In chain and theodolite surveying, what we do, we measure the traverse leg with the help of linear measuring instrument, and then we measure the included angles A, B, C, D, E with the help of theodolite. And then what we do, we go on locating the interior objects. Suppose one house we have to locate. So what we do, we bisect the corner of that house with the help of theodolite. We measure the included angle with related to the baseline and measure the distance from station point to that object. So likewise, we can measure the distances, or we can locate the object with any of this instrument. But the basic method is traversing, means enclosing the area, right? So once the area is measured, or once the area objects are located by any of this method, the next thing is to check whether the observation or whether the traverse we have prepared is correct or not. So there are some checks on closed traverse, and there are few checks on the open traverse. So what are the checks on the closed traverse? Suppose this, if you have done this traversing, correct? Now we have to see that whether our traversing is correct or not. So there are some checks. So checks on open traverse are the sum of interior angles of all the traverse, the sum of all the included angle. It should be equals to 2n minus 4 into 90 degree. The sum of major interior angle should be equals to 2n minus 4 into 90 degree, where n is the side of the traverse. For example, if our traverse is 5-sided, then the summation of interior angle should be equals to 540. Correct? Suppose if our traverse is 4-sided, then put the value of n as 4. The value will be 360 degree. Suppose if the sides of the traverse is 3, then the sum of interior angle should be equals to 180 degree. Similarly, the sum of measured exterior angle should be equals to 2n plus 4 into 90 degree. This exterior angle, these are the included angle, and these are the excluded angle. The summation of all the excluded angle, that should be equals to 2n plus 4 into 90 degree. Next check is the summation of all the deflection angle should be equals to 360 degree, and the bearing of every line should differ by 180 degree. So these are some checks on the closed traverse. So whatever the survey we have to do, we have to check it whether the survey is correct or not. And if we are adopting the traverse method of surveying, then once our reading is over, then what we have to do, we have to check whether the observation we have taken is correct or not, and it can be checked numerically with the help of this 2n minus 4 into 90 degree, 2n plus 4 into 90 degree. Here it should be actually 2n plus 4. and algebraic sum of deflection angle should be equal to 360 degree, and the fore bearing and the back bearing of the line should differ by 180 degree. Similarly, if we are going for the open traverse, suppose this is the open traverse A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is the open traverse. Now, how to check this accuracy of this open traverse means जो traverse हमने किया है वो correct है या नहीं है. How to check it? There are two methods. First is taking the cutoff line. Second is taking the auxiliary point. Now, first we see what is cutoff line. Suppose we had started the traversing from A, and we go on measuring the distances A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, E, F, F, G. Now what we do, we randomly measure the distance between any 2 points other than the traverse. The A, B, B, C, C, D, these are the traverse legs. So other line AD is the other line. जिसका कुछ significance नहीं है during the survey, but randomly we will measure the distance AD. Randomly, likewise, we'll measure the distance DG and we'll write or record in somewhere. Then after traversing is done, and when we plot the traverse, suppose while taking the observation, the distance AD is recorded as 100 meter. Correct? Once our observation is over, then we go to the office, then we go on plotting the traverse. So usually what we do, first we do the field work and then record the readings in the field book. Then we'll go to office and then we draw or plot the map. So suppose we go to the office and then we plotted the map A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, F, G. Now at the field we recorded the distance, how much? 100 meter. Now at the map we have to check whether this distance AD, after converting it into the scale, it should be 100 or not. If it comes out to be 100, means whatever the survey we have done is all right. Correct? Second method is check the traverse using the auxiliary point. In open traverse, select one random point P and take the bearing of the line AB, BC, CD, DE. Sorry, take the bearing of the line AP, BP, CD, CP, DP, EP, and FP, and record somewhere in the notebook. After after plotting the traverse, what you do? You again plot the lines with the help of that recorded bearings. And if suppose all these lines meet at a single point, means your whatever the survey you have done is correct. If all the points are not met at a single point, means there is some error in your survey. So with the help of these two checks, you can check whether your surveying of open traverse is accurate or not. As I told, that survey is nothing but locating the object and plotting it on the paper. So in survey is basically divided into two parts. First is the field part, and second is the office part. In field, what we do, we take the observation, record in some book, and next method is whatever the observation we have recorded, we have to plot on a piece of paper. So once the field work is over, second is the plotting work. So traverse can be plotted by two methods: angle and distance method and the coordinate method. Correct? What is angle and distance method? For example, if this is a closed traverse, then we have the length and we have the angles, or we have the bearings. So with the help of length and bearings, we can plot this traverse on the paper. That is the one method. Second method is the coordinate method, means convert the bearings and the angles and length into the latitude and departure, means consecutive coordinate. If we know the length, if we know the bearing, we can find out the latitude and departure or coordinate of the every point. And then after calculating the coordinate, plot the figure with the help of these coordinates. So that is known as the coordinate method of plotting the traverse. Is it okay? Once the traverse is plotted, we have to ensure that in a closed traverse, the starting point should coincide with the end points. So suppose this is the traverse we have done at the field A, B, C, D, E and A. Means ideally our end point E must coincide with the station A. But due to some observational errors or due to some human error, sometimes what happened that the starting point do not coincide with the end point. Suppose we had started with the traverse A, B, C, D, E, and again it should coincide with the A, but rather than coinciding with the A, it is ending at A1. So some gap is there between the end points and the starting point, and this gap is known as the closing error. Correct? And it should not be, the closing error is not, it should not be there while plotting the traverse. So what we have to do, we have to eliminate this error. Closing error is not advisable. So we should eliminate this error. Then the question is how to eliminate this error. So there are different methods of eliminating the errors. First is the graphical method, and next is the Bodice rule, transit rule, and third rule. These Bodice rule, transit rule, and third rules are the numerical rules, while the graphical method is a method in which the closing error can be eliminated by graphical way. We will see one by one. So what is the graphical method? Suppose this is the closing error AA dash and the traverse fails to close by error this AA dash, that is marked with the help of E. Now how to eliminate this error? By graphically, first draw a line AA dash. Means draw the line AB, BC, CD, DE, EA dash with some other scale in one horizontal direction. Means that is the perimeter of the traverse. Correct? Now measure the closing error AA dash. This closing error is suppose E. So draw the perpendicular from A dash. Correct? Having length equal to closing error. Then join this A, small a with the capital A. Correct? Then from every points, every station point, B dash, C dash, D dash, E dash, draw the lines parallel to the closing errors. Correct? So these offset indicates the shifting of the points. Means the original stations which are there, that has to be shifted toward the closing errors. So in the third figure C, the stations are now shifted, and then we draw the line. We'll get the corrected figure. So that is the graphical method of adjusting the closing error. Second is the numerical method, means Bodice rule, transit rule. So we have to calculate the correction into the latitude, we have to calculate the correction in the departure, and then we have to apply the correction to eliminate the errors. So it can be analytically corrected by three methods. One is the Bodice rule, second is the transit rule, and third is the third rule. So these are the three methods with the help of which we can eliminate the errors. Is it okay? So this is all about the traversing. Sir, is it okay? Shall I move further?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. So these two methods we have seen briefly, that is the triangulation method and traversing method. Actually, one method is so vast, it requires a lot of time, and I am trying to cover it up within a short time. Anyway, now we'll move to the next part of our discussion, that is total station. So traditionally, in the previous ages, the basic instrument of the surveying we used to do with the help of chain only. But with the advancement of the technology, number of refinements or number of inventions are going on, and we get some very latest instrument. For example, for measuring the linear, for taking the linear measurement, previously we had only the chain or tape, and for measuring the angles, we had only the prismatic compass and we have the vernier transit theodolite. But with the advancement of the technology, after transit theodolite, some modification had been made, and we receive one latest instrument, that is micro optic theodolite. Then further it is modified and it is digitized with the help of some technology, and we get the electronic digital theodolite. In the linear measuring instrument, after chain and tape, we get the digital tape. Then we get the distomet or electronic distance meter. Correct? So up till now, electronic distance meter is the latest instrument for measuring, for taking the horizontal measurement or for taking the linear measurement. And electronic digital theodolite is the instrument which is used for taking the angular measurement. So up till now, before total station, EDM was the latest instrument for taking the linear measurement, and digital theodolite was the latest instrument for taking the angular measurement. But with the advancement of technology, these two instruments, EDM and electronic digital theodolite, they are clubbed into one single instrument, and that is known as the total station. So total station is the latest instrument in the surveying, or latest instrument for the terrestrial surveying or the ground surveying. If we are doing the surveying at the ground, means not from the remote position, then total station is the latest instrument. What is the total station? Total station is basically a combination of an electronic distance meter and a combination of the electronic digital theodolite. Correct? It includes the internal electronic data storage to record distance, horizontal angle and vertical angle. Correct? Now we'll see what are the features of this total station. So on the right side of your screen, you will see one instrument, that is the total station. What are the features or what are the peculiarities of this total station, or what we can do with the help of total stations? So with the help of total stations, we can measure the horizontal angle, we can measure the vertical angle, we can measure the deflection angle, we can measure the horizontal distances, we can measure the vertical distances, we can measure the reduced level, we can range a line, we can mark the coordinates. Correct? So all these things can be done with the help of single instrument. So that is the feature of the total station. It is actually the most accurate and the user-friendly instrument. It gives the position of the points with respect to known point. It is compatible with the computers, means whatever the data recorded at the field, it can be transferred to the computer, and with the help of some software, we directly get the plans. In which auto level compensator is there. What is auto level compensator means? Just like a compensator which is in the auto level, means if your line of collimation is slightly deviated from the horizontal position, so it can be automatically this compensator makes the line of collimation perfectly horizontal. Correct. So due to some onboard software available with this total station, the data we record at the field is directly converted, directly transferred to the computer, and with the help of some software, directly we get the plans or maps. These are some another features, means the total station have the atmospheric correction and autofocus features. In addition, these series incorporates a quick distance measuring modes and a high data storage capacity for increasing the productivity. It gives the opportunity for long distance range monitoring up to 9,000 meters to a single prism. Using the scan function of the software, allow fully automated monitoring of the prism in direction of the line of sight. So whatever the area is there, the whole area or the whole survey work can be done with the help of this single instrument. What we need only the total station. You can see on the left side, and second is the prism. So what we have to do, we have to set the total station at one of the location from where the maximum areas to be covered, and we go on placing the this prism at different points or different location, and then we record the observation. So these are the various component parts of the total station. The focusing knob, eyepiece, it is a part of this telescope. Then display panel is there. Then data connector is there. So these are the various. Here is the battery compartment. These are some technical specification of the total station. Now, next thing is how to do the survey with the help of total station. Suppose if we have to locate some details from the field using the total station, what we have to do, the first step is establishing the site data. Means first select the suitable site from where the maximum areas to be covered, then place the total station over it and establish the north direction. Correct? North direction, it is established with the help of this total station. Once the total station is aligned to the north direction, then do the temporary adjustment of the total station like conventional ones, means fixing, placing, leveling, and elimination of the travel axis. That is the second step. Third step is create an operating job files. Create a job file or open the existing file. Correct, name the file, and next is go on recording the observation, means shoot the points. Whatever the object you have to locate, place the prism over or near that object, align the total station toward that prism and shoot the object. That the coordinate of that point is recorded in the memory. Correct? Suppose, for example, simply if we want to draw the plan of some building, existing building, what we do, we go to the building site, place the theodolite over it, correct? Orient the theodolite in the orient the total station along the north direction. Then open the job file, give the name, then place the total station, place the prism of the total station over one of the corner of the building, then direct the telescope of the total station towards that prism, and with the help of short button, it will record the observation. So whatever the coordinate of that points, it will be recorded. Once one corner is located, move to the prism to the second point. Again, orient the telescope of the total station toward that prism. Again, press the shoot button. The coordinate of the second corner will be recorded. Like that, repeat this procedure until the every corner of the building is covered. Then connect this total station to the your laptop, and whatever the data is recorded, it is transferred to the computer. On the computer screen, you will get different points, dot, 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 having some coordinates. Correct? Transfer this coordinate data with the help of some software. A map is generated. So that is the basic operation of the total station. With the help of total station, we can do the remote elevation measurements. Suppose this tower line is there, and we have to measure, or we have to set the transmission lines wires at some specific distance. So with the help of this total station, we can set the layout and mark the height of different cables. Similarly, this is the remote distance measurement, like this. If we have to locate the object, what we have to do? We have to place the theodolite, we have to place the total station here, correct? And whatever the points are there, go on placing the prism over those points and shoot those points. The coordinate of those points will be recorded in the total station. Transfer this coordinate from instrument to the computer, and with the help of some software, you will directly get the map. So this total station is very much useful for contouring. With the help of this instrument, we directly get the contour. In the conventional way of contouring, what we do, we use the leveling instrument, then we mark the grid, then at every grid corner we go on placing the staffs, then we'll take the observation, correct? Then we interpolate, then we do the interpolation, and after that we plot the contours. Whereas in total session, directly we'll get the contour map. So these are the various application of the total station. So total station is used for updating maps, it is used for topographic survey, it is used for hydrographic survey, cadastral survey, project construction survey, road rail survey, mining survey. Nowadays, we usually don't use any conventional instrument for surveying, and everything is done with the help of total station only. If you see nearby, whatever the survey is going on, it is done with the help of total station only, because it doesn't need any manpower. It needs only a helper and a surveyor. That's it. Only 2 persons are needed and nothing else. We'll get directly the maps. So this is a brief introduction about the total station. Now we'll see the next part. We'll discuss the next part, that is curve. as far as civil engineering is concerned, curve has a very significant role in roadways and railways. So what is, first of all, we'll see what is curve. How will you define the curve? Curve may be defined as a line or a surface that bends or deviates from straightness in a smooth continuous way without any sharp angle. That is the basic definition of the curve. Curves are nothing but it is a line or a surface which are going to bend or which bends continuously in a smooth continuous way without any sharp angles. And these curves are having a significant role uh, in the roadways and railways, also in the canals. Correct. So curves are basically classified into two categories. First is horizontal curve and the vertical curve. What is the horizontal curve? The curve which is lying in the horizontal plane is known as the horizontal curve, and the curve which is lying in the vertical plane is known as the vertical curve. Horizontal curves are further classified as simple circular curve, compound curves, reverse curve, lemniscate curve, like that. And vertical curves are classified as summit curve and valley curve. We'll see one by one. Now, what is simple curve? Simple circular curve is nothing but a single arc of a circle, or we can say that a curve which is having a single constant radius throughout and one center, single center, that is known as the simple circular curve. It is nothing but a part of circle. So if we consider one circle and if we take any part of it, then it is a simple circular curve. Second is the compound curve. What is compound curve? A curve which is having two or more radii and two or more centers. This type of curve is known as the compound curve. A compound curve consists of two or more simple curves having different radius, bending in the same direction, and laying on the same side of the common tangent. Correct? Their center lies on the same side of the curve. So in the figure it is shown as a compound curve which is composed of two simple curves. So if we see that in the figure there are, this is one simple circular curve, this is the again simple circular curve. So the combination of these two curves becomes a compound curve. Next is reverse curve. A reverse curve is having the two centers and two radii, but their center lies opposite to each other. Correct? A reverse or serpentine curve is made up of two arcs having equal or different radius, bending in opposite direction with a common tangent at their junction. Correct? So this is the common tangent, and these are the two curves. This is one curve having one radius and center. This is the another curve which is having a radius and a center. But the peculiarity or speciality of this reverse curve, or sometimes it is called as the S curve, is that their center lies opposite to each other in the opposite direction. So that is known as the reverse curve. Reverse curve is generally adopted in case of roadways like this. In some hilly area, and if you have to lay the alignment along the hilly area, then this type of S curve is adopted. Next is the transition curve. Transition curve is nothing but a curve having a variable radius. A curve in which the radius of the curve goes on changing at every instant of time, such type of curve is known as the transition curve. Usually transition curve is provided before and after the circular curve in the road. If we provide the circular curve in the road and if we join it with the joined by the straight portion, then you will get the sudden jerk. So to meet the requirement and to join the straightness with the help of circular curve smoothly, a transition curve is provided in between the circular curve and the transition curve. Sorry, circular curve and the straight road. Then vertical curves. Vertical curves are provided to change the slope in the roads and may or may not be symmetrical. They are parabolic and not circular like horizontal curve. Correct? So vertical curves are of two types, valley curve or summit curves. These vertical curves are provided when we need to connect the bridge or flyover to the ground level. In that case, we go for the vertical curves, and vertical curves are of two types, the summit curve and the valley curve. So how will you define the valley curve or a sag curve? A sag curve are those which changes the down gradient followed by an up gradient. Correct? The curve which is having the downward gradient followed by the upward gradient, that is known as the valley curve, and the curve which changes the gradient followed by the downward gradient is known as the summit curve and crest curve. Then if we talk about the simple circular curve, this must have you studied in your basic surveying. What are the various components of the simple circular curve? That will not in detail. No. Correct. So designation of the curve. How the curve is designated and how the curve can be measured. Like the circle is designated by its radius. In the similar way, the curve is designated by its degree. Now, how will define the degree of the curve? The degree of the curve can be defined as the angle subtended at the center of curve by a chord of 30-meter length is known as the degree of curve. That is the chord definition. And what is the arc definition? Arc definition states that the central angle, this angle, which is subtended by an arc of 30-meter length. For example, if we take the arc of 30-meter length and if we join it at the center and the angle, whatever the angle we get at the center, this angle is known as the degree of the curve. And there is some relation between the degree and radius of the curve. That relation is radius of curve is equals to 1719 upon d. That is the relation between the radius and the degree of the curve. R equals to 1719 upon d. That is the basic relation between the radius and degree of curve. Now at field we have to set this curve. In construction of the roadways and in railways, we came across a situation where we have to set the curves at the field. So there are basically two methods of setting the circular curve. One is the linear method and second is the angular method. In linear method, what we do, we set the curves by taking only with the help of linear measuring instrument like tapes or chain. With the help of that, we set the curves. So linear methods are of four types: by offset or ordinate from long chord, by successive bisection of the arc or chords, by offset from the tangents, by offset from the chord produced. That are the linear method. And angular method. Angular method is the method in which we set the curve with the help of some angle measuring instrument like theodolites. So we have two methods: Rankine's deflection angle method and one theodolite method or two theodolite method. So these are the two methods with the help of which we can set the curve. So you can see this method, but it will take again a lot of time. So better today we'll stop here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for covering such a vast topic in such less time. And I really congratulate you to deliver so wonderfully. You have delivered a very beautiful lecture, sir.
Thank you.
Now I open this session for question and answer.
Yes.
Students, if you have any doubt, please ask. Students, if you have any query, please ask. Otherwise, we can conclude this session. Okay, sir. I think there is no question from the student side. So thank you for joining, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Sir, one question from Lalit.
Yes, sir.
One question is from Lalit. He's asking, discuss about the drone technology survey. Okay, Lalit, actually, we are covering the topic which is asked. Yes.
Yeah, that will cover in the next lecture. That comes into
Okay.
the parametric and aerial surveying. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Shall I leave, sir?